In this episode, we are going to talk about Collins Kibet. Collins Kibet is a son of the late Jonathan Toroitich. Jonathan Toroitich was the son of the late Daniel Arap MOI. So this makes Collins Kibet to be a grandson of Daniel Arap MOI. He is the focus of this episode. Some of you who are old enough will remember there used to be a TV program called The Rich Also Cry. There's an artist, a cartoonist, who drew Ojwang Hatari by saying that it was a comedy at the poor also laugh. I don't know whether it was Mapolomoko Mad Paul Kelemba. I don't know whether it was James Kamawira Ham. I don't know whether it was Frank Odoi and so on. But there was somebody who drew that. So this, we say, just like we said in the last episode, that the Kenyatta family cry, it is now the turn for Moi family to cry. With the massive investment of the Moi family, it is a pity that a grandchild of his has to live in a pecuniary embarrassment. Of course, there are two other subsidiary topics to be covered. Talking about him living in a pecuniary embarrassment life, but at the same time, I have other two topics to talk, subsidiary topics to talk. He obviously looked like somebody deep in alcoholism, and also the merciless ex-wife. I want to talk about his alcoholism, apparent alcoholism, and two, I also want to talk about his merciless ex-wife. But first, let us talk about the horror of imagining that a member of the Moi family can live in such a condition. Just imagining can cause you that horror. Nobody understands this more than me. It is there in the land of family. And even where I reside, the family that are that are my landlords also have such a thing. In a family in a well of family, there is always this one person or a few people in such family. He or she decides to bar the estate of the deceased, blocks it, holds it in perpetual sense of whatever. Not that he's gaining anything by, for example, being a son of so and so or being a daughter of so and so. You can go and bar the members of the family from maybe monthly. Or let me take an example of an estate. In estate, by this I mean somebody has a few hundreds of rental houses and a certain what do you call a realtor is collecting rent for that estate. That person can stop, bar members of the family, him included or she included, from getting anything from that. To him or her, it is not important that he or she is missing out on money. No. To him or her, the important thing is he is blocking his or she is blocking her siblings from getting a single cent. To him, it is better to block so and I mean, okay, let me take an example. Maybe he's getting or she's getting 100,000 shillings per month from the realtor, and somebody else in the family is getting something, maybe something or whatever. To him, he'd rather not even get the 100,000, but to make sure that others don't get even a single cent. It is either I get everything or tunaharagania, or he or she hates the siblings so much that he or she agrees to stay in perpetual pecuniary embarrassment, so as to see the other sibling or siblings not gain. It is not that he's getting anything by blocking others, no, but because of two reasons. He wants to solely inherit all the property, or he would rather all properties go down the drain than one or more of the inheritors to get a slice of or even a single cent. You find that is what those people are. He just feels very bad for others to even gain anything from it. He or she feels that he is entitled to everything and the other people are entitled to nothing. But in many cases, it is both. It is both that he wants to block the others and he wants to get everything. Many of the times, the differences benefits the executors of the will and respective lawyers. You'll find that when somebody dies, there are those executors of the will, or the person who divides the property of the deceased. So you find many of the times such differences, it is the executors of the will and the respective lawyers of these people who benefit. Imagine I am the executor of your parents' will. If you people agree very quickly and whatever, my work will take 2 months. But if you people don't agree quickly, my work will take 2 years. Now, for any employee who has worked for 2 months and another who has worked for 2 years, you find that the executioners also will use the divide and rule to remain relevant or hide some of the properties. You see, as I said, if I'm the executor and I divide the things within 2 months, but if it takes longer, obviously the total amount I get will be more because I'll have worked for more. Another thing is, if that executor hides some properties, if the inheritors are united, they may carry out an audit of the property. But if they are constantly fighting, the executor laughs all the way to the bank. And if one or two tries to find out whatever, the executor will use the divide and rule, because you may want to call the others and say, we want to do an audit of what our parents left. But the executor will make sure at least one or more people from one or more siblings will come and start other things that you'll not have time to think. Or even if you have time to think, it will be a divided time that you'll not you take these two scenarios. You have so many cases that you are differing. There are so many cases that you are arguing on one hand. You have so many cases you are differing. You have so many cases you are arguing. You have little or no time for to follow up those executors of the will to find out if they are hiding something. What's more, you are doing it alone. But suppose you are united. Suppose you are united. If you are united, you would not have time, first of all, to fight each other. Then you'll have more time to audit those other things. Others to benefit are the respective lawyers and friends and relatives of yours. You see, okay, all of you will have to hire lawyers, and if these things you agree very quickly, it will take less time and less money and less whatever, and then you'll find very little time to do that, and then the lawyers will move on. But if you have perpetual things like this, the lawyers, after you lose the case, the lawyer will say, okay, if we lose, let us appeal, let us whatever. And if you say that, let us appeal, let us do whatever, if you appeal, it is your money you are going to appeal, it is your money you are going to pay the lawyer. I do not have something to, to fight for, but should I come across anything substantial, I intended to give it out before I die. I do not have something substantial, and if I find something substantial before I die, I intend to divide. I intend to divide my things while still alive. There is no need to leave children wanting to murder each other. Let me make myself clear while still alive, so that anybody, of course, there, there's always somebody, even if he doesn't show himself while you are alive, but once you die, he comes out. And as I said, lawyers, friends, and relatives would even take a person who is very innocent and convert him into a rebel. So I think I don't have anything substantial worth fighting for, but should I get, I intend to divide everything while still I'm alive. There are risks there, but I've seen I'd rather have that risk. After all, I'm in my mid 60s, so uh, the days I've spent on earth are more than the days that are still remaining. I'm also an expert in political assassinations, and most of the assassination victims who have studied were a generation ahead of me. A generation ahead of me. One is that they are the generation of my parents, and two, I am the generation of their children. I have learned a lot. Mine is to beg the executors of MOI properties to at least give the young man Kibet, to give the young man, I'm calling him young man because I am in the age bracket of Jonathan Toroitich. I'm in the age bracket of his father. I'm younger than Jonathan Toroitich, and I'm older than Gideon. So mine is to beg the executors of MOI properties to give the young man something, some substantial subsistence money, something that you can look at him. He looks compulsory fasting. Compulsory fasting. You know what compulsory fasting is? Is that he eats a meal or two per day, not because he wants to, or he's losing weight, not because he wants to lose weight, but he's losing weight because his pocket. I would tell the executors to pay fees for all his children directly, and then give good money. He gives me the impression of someone who drinks a lot, and he drinks cheap, hard stuff on an empty stomach. That is the impression when I look at the picture. And you see, somebody said a picture is worth 1,000 words. He once had friends contribute something. He had some friends who contributed something. He was in a financial mess and people contributed 8K. Yes, people contributed 8,000, a total of 8,000 shillings in M-Pesa, and he lost that phone. So he was having that problem. Now, 8,000. He is somebody whom, if there were to be an issue or anything, he's somebody we would have expected him to be contributing to worthy causes about 80,000. 80,000. But here he had a problem. I don't know, but I think it has something to do with he must have. I didn't I did come across him, but it is quite possible that even the phone that he lost must have been a kabambe. If you look at him, he looks more like the Githeri man, the person whose photograph was taken while taking Githeri. Finally, let us talk about his ex-wife. As I said before, I said his evil ex-wife. Does she know the difference between unable to support the children and unwilling to support the children? There is a difference between unable to support the children and unwilling to support the children. Does she know the difference? Why take somebody with no money for child support? He obviously, if he's somebody who, if he's somebody who had people contribute M-Pesa up to 8,000 shillings, it brings out the question, why take someone with no money for child support? To me, a person taken to court for child support is the one with money but has refused to support. Why? You see, these kids are great grandchildren of MOI. Why not take the MOI estate to court on his behalf so that they can finance for the children? For example, they could sit down and rent a house for her and the children and be sending some money for subsistence for the family. Because that is where the money is. Why is you somebody whom friends had to contribute 8,000 shillings? As a former cop, you know, in the police, we used to come across so many cases such as this one. I sometimes I wonder about women. Yes, some women who said that child support must come from the man. Who said that the child support must come from a man? I thought that, for example, in European countries, the partner who earns more is the one who finances the other. From what I see, financially, the lady is in a better financial position than Moi's grandson. But Kenyan tradition, especially, I don't see that one among the Kikuyus. Don't see that one among the. It is there, but it is more among Lohias. In Kenya, you can find a woman earning 10 times more than what the man gets. can get a woman getting 10 times what the man gets. Yet she sues him for child support. I've always believed that child support or any other support, you support somebody if you can support yourself. But if you look at Kibet, he looks like if it were in a developed country, he would have been taken to a homeless home. To me, he looks more like a chokora than as a grandson of a former head of state. Then I ask myself, how sure are we that she's not a gold digger? Did she just get married to him out of love or because of the name of the family? Does she understand the meaning of courting? This is the time when each is supposed to study the other. For someone to be drunk to that level, assuming that he is a drunkard, there must be that telltale sign. And women by nature are very good investigators. I have, as an intelligence officer, as a detective, I have come across very many cases of where a woman tells you or a woman tells people around that I don't trust this person. And just like any detective will say, where is the evidence? When you say where there's the evidence, the woman says, no, there's no evidence. I just have that feeling that later on, over 85% of the cases you'll find later on, they come out to be her sixth sense was right. But you see, in law, you don't act on sixth sense. Another thing that I have noticed with the Kenyan girls, actually two things, especially after breakup. Why do you poison your children, especially boys, against their father? That is one question. Why do you how do you poison the relationship between your former lover and yourself? You use your children, especially boys, against their father. The second question I want to ask, why use the children to fight your wars? You chose your partner, but your children didn't choose their parents. So, the way you disregarded millions and millions and chose that person, why have you now nikimwona tu ama nisikie jina yake nasikia kutapika? I don't know. Kwani kutapika is very simple for women. Because you find anything that annoys a woman, she says, nikisikia tu jina yake ama nikimwona tu nasikia kutapika. Yes, there is usually a regret by girls after breakup. She would ask herself why she wasted her time on him. But don't you think he has also wasted his time? You started dating when you are in 20 something, isn't it? You are now 35 years. Do you think that a person who is 35 would go back to the market the way a 22 or 23 person would go? No. So why look at yourself? He has wasted my time. I tell you, one time I had a secondary, I call it secondary bachelorhood. During that time, I had sworn to live my whole life single. So men regret, yes, I regretted, although of course I moved on, but I'm talking of my secondary bachelorhood. Men also regret, men do whatever. You, like me at that time, if I still laugh at myself when I think of I'd sworn that I'll live my whole life single. So men also, but a woman, hey, Oh, somebody said, what do you call, anger has no, I'm forgetting what they are saying, but they was talking of, there is nothing that, even thunder cannot reach a woman who is really annoyed or something like that, isn't it? Something like that, I can't recall. Maybe if I recall, or if you recall, you can comment on the comment section. Have you have seen, didn't you both waste each other's time? Okay, for example, could be possible that maybe the man has wasted, but don't you think you have also wasted his time? But even if it is true that the man wasted your time, why involve the children? Why use them against each other? Why don't you just tell them that is your father? You cannot get any other father even if you wanted.